Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. I love it.
Right? Isn't that great? Me and Mark can't wait to get some time with our family this week. I'm excited. Christmas is a great time of the year. We're glad we're able to give you guys this episode right on Christmas morning. But in sports news so far this week, not a whole lot going on. A lot of bowl games coming up this week. Tuesday night, the Clippers beat the Lakers, and the Nets had beaten the Warriors in the opening night of the NBA. Your last four teams competing for the crown of college football will be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Those are your four teams. And other than that, with that being said, Mark, how are you?
I'm good. So a couple things that we're gonna talk about today. But one thing I wanted to start the show with is just the generosity of NFL players. Everybody talks about how bad they are, like kneeling for the anthem, going to strip clubs, like just being
dog
degenerates.
Fighting.
Like nobody talks about the positive things these players do.
Oh, negativity sells. Remember that.
Yeah, and there's one story I want to bring up, mainly because it's for our family. My brother-in-law, Scott Delude, his cousin, 8-year-old cousin, was born without legs, and he had a deformity. And two players for the Buffalo Bills, Matt Milano and Gabriel Davis, stepped up. They train in Orlando, and where they train, people are fitted for prosthetics. And what they did was they sent him and his family to Orlando to get fitted for racing prosthetics, and they sent him to Florida. He got fitted. They paid for the whole trip. He went to Disney World, everything. And I just think it's a great story. This young man said to the news, he said, "Now I can run with my friends." Now think about it. This young man is 8 years old.
Hasn't gotten to play with his friends like that.
And his first reaction, and that's like when they talked to the two players, they said they lost it when he said, "Now I can play with my friends," because things you take for granted. And I just think it's an unbelievable story. I'm glad that it's part of our family because it was brought to our attention.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it, and that's what's unfortunate is unless it's like I know you're a Bengals fan, or like I'm a Dallas fan. Like if it's not about our actual team, you don't hear much about it. And that's
you don't.
The thing.
And they have the NFL Player Man of the Year.
Yep.
And they have these awards. One player from every team is nominated, and then they get the award. And the thing is I think the NFL should do a better job of promoting what these players do in the community. Yeah. And I mean, what's his name? He played for Maryland and he played for Baltimore, wide receiver. Played for a couple different teams, but he's in the community in Baltimore still. And Ray Lewis does a lot in this community area.
That's one of the
still.
things. And I know you're not big on a lot of social media, but I know a lot of our followers can contest to this. With me, I follow like Dak Prescott, I follow past Cowboys and other players from other teams, and that's one of the things with him is like he always every week, even though he's got a bummed up leg, he's giving out meals. He went trick or treating and took kids out trick or treating with masks on. Like if you don't follow these players' lives, like I follow 150 different players, they're always doing these things, but you seem to never get to hear about it. And you're like, wow, these. And no offense to the family, but like. That they gave that kid legs, but you're like, that's crazy. Like, but that happens all the time. I just wish they showed it more.
Exactly.
And that's so sad because these players seem to be like they're all criminals. They're all bad players, but they're not. These players have hearts.
Yes.
You just never get to hear about these stories. And I'm glad we do. And I'm glad this one hits so close to home with the family.
Yeah. And so, I just wanted to start it off on that. It's Christmas, it's giving, it's everything. And I just thought that was a great story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to ask you a question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a lot of random stuff to talk about today with you guys. Nothing really too crazy, but one thing I wanted to ask you is, since this is Christmas, you guys will be hearing this on Christmas. What is your Christmas NFL wish? Now, it doesn't have to be on Christmas
It was granted.
Day.
It was already granted.
What was that?
Bengals beating Pittsburgh. I could care less about draft picks. I could care less about Burrow being hurt. We beat Pittsburgh for the first time in 11 games, and we beat them like we destroyed them. Yep. And Christmas granted.
Okay.
It is like my family that I married into is Steeler fans.
I know, it's very painful.
A couple of them are Dolphin fans and Buffalo Bill fans and Raider fans, but the majority, my wife, my son, and my brother-in-law that lives right across the street.
You can see their house from here.
Are Steeler fans.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy. Draft pick be damned. We beat Pittsburgh. Thank you. So that is my Christmas wish, and that was granted, and I'm happy now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
My Christmas wish is that the Dallas Cowboys make it past the divisional round. No, seriously. That's my wish, is that I was born in 94, so I don't remember any crazy Super Bowls. I actually want to break this into two wishes. You guys can hear my colors here, okay? I'm a big Dallas fan. Two wishes. One, I wish Dallas would stop calling themselves America's team until we do something. Mm-hmm. And two, I want a new ankle for Dak Prescott. Those are my two biggest wishes, so we can make it past the divisional round. Other than that, I do like the fact that the Jets got Cole for Christmas. They're not getting Trevor Lawrence now. Which may not be a bad thing.
They did the most. Adam Gase did the most Adam Gase thing.
Jeez.
You know what? I'm going out the door. You're not getting Trevor Lawrence, bitches. I'm sorry. He just dropped the mic and he just said, have fun.
Yep.
And he's like, I'll take my job, I'll take my money, and I'll go sit on the bench and watch you guys lose next year too.
Which to be fair, I mean, we can talk about that for the second. I mean, to be honest, if you're Trevor Lawrence, how happy are you right now that you're going to be going to Jacksonville? I know they're bad too, but they have more talent around you. You're not going to the Jets.
Jacksonville might do the most Jacksonville thing in the world and hire Adam Gase as their head coach.
Oh my gosh. Please don't say that.
No, but I mean, realistically, like, you don't play the game to lose.
No,
okay?
you
like,
can't.
the Jets don't play the game to lose.
Nobody does, especially in the NFL. It's too hard to do that.
This is what everybody's calling the next big thing, like the next Andrew Luck, the next Peyton Manning, the next guaranteed.
He is the highest rated quarterback out of college since Peyton.
I'm sorry, I watch Clemson play.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Saban in Alabama. Mm-hmm. I do, and it's not that I hate Alabama. I hate Saban.
Yeah.
Okay. So Alabama's fine. Like, if Alabama was winning the way they're winning and they didn't have Saban, I'd be okay with them.
Yeah, of course.
I like Dabo. I like Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
I think he's done an amazing job with that school. And the thing is the players that have come out of there have been really good NFL players also. But
at every position, not just certain ones, like Alabama quarterbacks aren't good.
And so I watched Lawrence. And I watched this kid as a freshman, sophomore, junior, it doesn't matter. He was going left to right, right to left. Yeah. He was looking at the field. He saw it before it happened. And that's the thing, like, he's different.
And he's
like,
6.5 feet tall.
But that's the thing, like, he's just different. And you see it on the field. And the kid from Alabama is a good quarterback. The kid from South Dakota,
Alabama is
North
only
Dakota,
like a sophomore, though.
Right, North Dakota. They're decent quarterbacks. I think Fields a bum. I honestly do. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Fields is a bum. He's going to be a bust. But I think Trask is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But I haven't watched enough of Florida, so I'm sure I'll get a text from Nate and Danny and Xander or whatever.
Trask is really good.
I don't know how he reads the field, though.
Yeah.
I know he's a leader, and because you see what he can do on the field. Like, I've seen that, but I don't know how he reads the field. I don't know if he's a one side of the field player and he needs to learn how to read defenses. But Trask, I think, is the second best quarterback in this draft. Mm-hmm. I think Wilson is very good. He played really well yesterday, and he's skyrocketing up the draft boards.
The thing about that I like, and this is going to be just like I did in the beginning of the season this year, I told everybody about Justin Herbert and how he was going to, I thought how good he was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I obviously thought Burrow was going to play all year, rookie of the year to Burrow. But I was just saying, don't sleep on the West Coast people you never hear about because they play at 10 o'clock at night. This Zach Wilson kid is really good, and I put him in my top 3 quarterbacks in college right now. I love Trask. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Lawrence because he's in another league. Yep. But out of those two, Trask and Wilson, I want them both if I could have the chance. I would prefer Trask because I like his play style more. I like the pro-style pocket passer. Mm-hmm. But this Wilson kid is just... I was reading numbers about him, and they were talking about how it reminds them of... I'm going to say the name, but it's not who they remind him of champion-wise. But his play style reminds people of Patrick Mahomes in a way that he's got a good arm deep. and he can run the ball if he needs to, and he reads the field well. And I'm like, that's a really good comparison to have. Not saying champion Patrick Mahomes, not that, just his play style out of college. And I'm like, these quarterbacks from this draft class, just like the last draft class, there's been some good quarterbacks the last couple years, and whoever gets some of these quarterbacks, they're going to have a good future with their teams. I mean, I'm excited.
And something to think about. And I brought it up we mention our group chat all the time.
Yep.
And all we do is talk sports or what would you rather, food pictures, like it doesn't matter. And I posted this. The top 2 teams need a quarterback in the draft. Okay, so the Jacksonville and the Jets, they need a quarterback. Mm-hmm. The Bengals don't.
Nope.
Okay. The next pick, I believe, is either Carolina and or Atlanta. Okay,
I'll pull up it right now.
Pull up the draft. My point is the top 5 picks, 2 teams need a quarterback.
But let me tell you something. The first 10 teams don't need a quarterback except for the first 2.
Right.
Like, quarterbacks are going to fall.
So think about this. The Dolphins, as of right now, have
you
the
guys
number
are number
6.
3.
Yeah, we're 3.
Carolina. And Atlanta.
Neither one needs a quarterback.
Then the Dolphins via Houston.
Right. And so my point here is the Dolphins have the 6th pick. Mm-hmm. Okay? They have 2 other picks in the first round. Mm-hmm. A team that is needy of a quarterback, that is farther down in the draft. Chicago. Who needs quarterbacks that maybe want to pay for them? Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Because they only have Rivers for this year.
I mean, not in a mean way. I mean, if it's not a bad deal, not hard to make with the Dolphins. Excuse me. You could see if Dallas doesn't re-sign Dak, you could see the Washington football team making that kind of trade to move
get
up.
a second this year or a third this year and their first next year. And you're getting the 6th pick, and you can get a Trask, a Wilson, somebody that loves Fields.
Yeah.
Let
me show you this, though. There's a chance, and I've been reading this a lot this week because it just intrigues me, the fact that the Jets aren't picking number 1 anymore. But there's a high chance, and we've talked about this, and this is something me and you texted last night about, and I want to take a few minutes and discuss this. And if anybody listens, talk to us about this. Message us on Facebook when you hear this. The Jets, they might not take a quarterback here.
Right.
There's a chance that they could take Sewell, thank you, from Oregon. There's a chance they could take him and help build that.
And they would totally screw the Bengals draft.
They would, because I know that's who you want.
And then the Bengals pick. I don't want that wide receiver from LSU. Yeah. I'm sorry, we have enough wide receivers.
I can't think of the line. We have
decent enough wide receivers. We need defensive help and offensive line help.
Patrick Surtain from Alabama would be right there.
Right, but if you can maybe get that kid at 9-10, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know who you're talking about.
So you then trade down and you get picks for that 3rd pick for another quarterback hungry team.
So that's kind of my thing with the Jets is you see Lawrence going at 1, and if I look down this list, if I'm reading what I'm reading correctly, the Jets might not take a quarterback. There's a chance they roll with Darnold. Cincinnati's not taking a quarterback.
Well, think about this though. Okay, so you have the kid from Alabama that's going to be in the NFL draft after next year.
Probably.
Okay. And you have a couple other quarterbacks that will be in that draft that are high picks. If you're the Jets and you take Sewell at number 2 because you're not sold on drafting Trask at 2, Wilson at 2, and Fields you feel is not the guy.
That playoff game showed you that, and their championship game.
Yes, but so you don't feel that those guys are worth the number 2 pick. Yep. You roll with the offensive lineman. Their offensive lineman they drafted last year has played unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So
Mekhi Becton.
You solidify that offensive line with 2 corner offensive linemen. You roll with Darnold for his
and think about this too.
4th? Is it going to be his 4th year?
He's going into his 3rd, I think.
No, he's the same as Allen and Baker.
So he's going into his 4th.
So he's going into his 4th. You're not paying him. You don't have to trade him.
No.
You don't have to pick up his 5th year option.
Just let him walk to free agency.
You can just and if you're bad enough, again, you go into the draft with a high draft pick again and maybe pick your quarterback again.
This is where I want to talk with you, and it's not an argument here. It's that for me, both Jacksonville and the Jets are 1-13. Overall on paper, front, back, top to bottom, who's the better team, do you think?
Jacksonville.
Clearly it's Jacksonville. You have the running back. James Robinson's a monster. You have DJ Chark.
Yep.
You have another wide receiver. I can't think of his name right now either. Your O-line is average at best. Okay. Your defense, a little bit below average. I think like 23rd in the league. You put Lawrence in that situation, he can make a 5 or 6 win team out of that. But you put him in the Jets with what they have, he's going to die. You know you're not ready for a quarterback like that. No offense to the Jets.
Yeah.
Unless they go out and spend $50 million on offensive line and free agency, which I doubt they'll do, like the Bengals did, to put a lot of money in that O-line and defensive line last year in free agency. If the Jets don't do that, there is no reason to take a quarterback this year at all. You might as well rebuild that line and defense. That way, when you do get your quarterback, a quarterback might go, okay, I don't mind going to the Jets. They put some pieces around me.
Yep.
But I want to read down this list real quick. Cincinnati, no, at 3. Carolina, do you think they'll take a quarterback? I think they like Bridgewater.
Yes.
Okay. So then you have, after that, you have Atlanta. Do they take a quarterback?
No, because they have so many holes, and Ryan, I don't think Ryan's tradable, okay, and because he's making a lot of money, but I also don't think Ryan is the problem.
Unless you're picking a quarterback at pick 25 in the first round, like the Green Bay did, your quarterback here is going to start. So
Yes.
tell me when I get a starting quarterback here, okay? Dolphins, they're next. Nope. Philadelphia.
No.
Nope, because they have Hurts or Wentz, whatever they decide. Dallas.
Possibly.
Possibly if they don't re-sign Dak. But
Yes.
I'm going to go to the assumption my gut says Dak comes back no matter the price.
Okay.
Chargers.
No.
Giants.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to Detroit.
Yes.
San Francisco.
No.
And
well,
then
reports are they're not bringing Garoppolo back, that they're going to cut him. They don't owe him any money right now.
Okay.
So I would say yes.
So if we're talking at this point after Jacksonville and the Jets, the first team you could see drafting quarterback is Dallas if they don't re-sign Dak. And that's at 8. But we're going to take them out. So the first next quarterback is pick 10 at the Giants, possibly Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you need a backup to Stafford.
But you don't draft a backup
You need your plan for
Unless
your
he's your
future.
future.
Plan.
Yep. And then you have, real quick, you have San Francisco, so possibly yes. Denver.
Yes.
I think this is where you have to take it. Locke hasn't been the answer. And then you have Minnesota. They're probably going to still roll with Kirk, right?
No, I think he's a free agent after this
So
year.
you don't think they re-sign him or try another free agent?
I wouldn't re-sign him.
And
Nate says this perfectly. All right, and everybody, it's you know what you got with Kirk.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not somebody that can take you to
He
the
can't
promised
push you through
land.
that threshold.
You know, so I could see Minnesota taking a quarterback.
And then at 15 is your last team that I'll go out the top 15, and that's New England.
Yes.
Yes. And then Chicago's right after. I'll say that real quick. Every team after that, again, the only team that I'm reading here throughout the end of all the way rest, you have Pittsburgh at 28, possibly maybe needing a quarterback.
Definitely needing a quarterback.
They're going to have to get somebody, and that would be the spot that I think Trask has been balling out, but that's a chance that where he was supposed to go around there. You have Indianapolis. What are they going to do after him? And then Washington. These are 3 teams that are all wild card teams, and you're like, man, what are they going to do? Because you only have so many quarterbacks here. So I'm excited to see, truthfully, if only Lawrence goes at 1 and we're by pick 5, we're getting to pick 6 with the Dolphins pick right there.
Yep.
And there's no other quarterbacks taken. That is going to be a very valuable pick. And that's why I think with the Jets losing, this only helps the Dolphins. The Dolphins pick now becomes way more valuable because if the Jets were at number 1.
That number 3 pick becomes valuable.
If
the
Cincinnati
number 4
wants
pick,
to.
the number 5 pick becomes valuable. Because if you get word that the Dolphins are going to trade that pick and you make that call.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, think about it. If I'm the Bengals, okay, and the Jets take Sewell, and you know Miami's making phone calls, okay, you make the same phone call, and you go, hey, number 3, you're guaranteed this kid. Number 5, you're not. Somebody could jump over you at number 6 and in the 3, 4, 5 spot. And, oh, by the way, I'm already talking to Chicago. I'm already talking to for this pick. You know, the Jets ruined our draft by taking Sewell. We want to move down, and this is your opportunity to get your quarterback.
Honestly, as I know, offensive tackles aren't the biggest change in the world, but with Dallas doing it multiple years in a row, if the Bengals can do like 3 straight drafts with good linemen, you have the one kid. What was the kid
Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams, and you had another kid.
Yes, I can never think of
his name. And then if you were to get Sewell, I'm just Burrow to the future with that. So
exactly.
It's like,
and Mixon.
You know you lost out on your pick here. So if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, this is the moment where you talk to Philly. I mean, not Philly, excuse me. You talk to the Dolphins and stuff like that about moving down and trying to get picks up here. And it's like, this is just, to me, I know we have more things to talk about, but for everybody listening, like, to me, this draft is interesting, and I love college football. Everybody knows that, and I love the draft because I love how much crazy this is, and I can't wait to see the quarterback that's going to go way earlier than he should and end up being great. No offense, I like Kyle Trask. Everybody listening is a big Kyle Trask fan. I can guarantee you he's going to go 4 or 5. I think there's a chance someone goes after him, and it's earlier than he should, and he's going to make a team very happy. But I love seeing the craziness that's going to happen if the Jets don't take a quarterback. If the Jets don't take a Trask or that Wilson kid, or Fields is going to go early for some odd reason. But when you get to the Bengals are in a really valuable position to rebuild their team. And this is what I can't wait for. The first 10 picks are my favorite. I love it. Yeah, it's absolutely Christmas for me, the NFL draft is.
So we've been talking a lot. This transition is going to be weird. It's going to be talking about the young QBs that are coming out in the draft to something I have a big thing with. And this is in every single sport. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the 4 old quarterbacks retiring. Brady, Brees, Rivers, and Big Ben. I do not. All 4 of them have had good years. Okay, we can all say they've had good years. Not great, not where they have been in the past, but they all have their teams in the playoffs.
Yes, they do,
and they all have played very well. Okay, good. My problem is you've already you're seeing the downward spiral of all these quarterbacks.
All 4 of them, yes. I mean, can I say something, to be fair, real quick? Even though Rivers has kind of a wet noodle arm, we've talked about it before, he hasn't looked bad this year, surprisingly. He has looked really good, but he has a really good O-line, too, helping him out.
Yep.
Excuse me.
If I'm Brady, I want to see them retire. I would love to see that Hall of Fame class in 5 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, Brady, Brees, Rivers, and Big Ben all making the Hall of Fame in the same year.
But can you put multiple quarterbacks in? I thought it was like certain positions only.
I don't think so. And also here, they would make an exception.
Absolutely.
Every single one of these players is first ballot Hall of Famers.
Well, I think they made the exception. Same thing with the NBA with Kobe, too, because I don't think he was out 5 years before this Hall of Fame. I think he last played in 2016. So it's only been 4 years.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So this would be the exception because look at these 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Again, we can argue. Is Rivers a Hall of Famer, though?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
And I'm not saying, unfortunately, like he's overrated. No, I mean, numbers-wise, he's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Okay. But these 4 quarterbacks have, for the last 20 years we've been watching football, these have been the names. Okay, and you add Manning in there, you add Manning in there, and there's one I'm missing too. I can't think of it right now. And the only other one that technically won a Super Bowl was Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco, but
these and Rodgers. Okay,
Rodgers
isn't as old as these guys.
Yep.
Okay, he's getting there.
But
he's not. But I want to see these. I don't want to see these guys become bad.
Yeah.
And like Ben is close.
Ben's looking close.
And especially the last few, and these guys as the season goes on, Brady's looking pretty good. He's not great. Brees was hurt. Didn't look good the other night. Rivers, like you said, they figured out that offense, and Rivers
they're helping
out,
him.
And so
it's really dink and dunk, which is good.
Big Ben is not playing well.
Well, look at this. We were talking with the guys the other night during that game, saying the Steelers just need to run the ball better. Okay, well, they had 100-something yards of rushing, 85 out of Snell, I think is his name. Big Ben only had 168 passing yards. He was almost 50% passing. So I'm not saying they need to run the ball better. Big Ben needs to throw the ball better.
Right.
He's not impressed me the last probably 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and so it is. I don't want to see them get old. And they are old. Okay, now they're all younger than me, but in football terms, they are old.
There's players that get old, and when you watch them, you're like, man, like Darrelle Revis. One of my favorite corners in the league, right? And his last couple years, it was just Revis. It wasn't even an island anymore.
Yeah.
And it was like, Revis, just go. Like, you were so good. I don't want to see you get burnt no more.
I don't want to see these guys hang on anymore.
Do you want to know a good example of those? And it's not a quarterback. Jason Witten. To me, that's another one. But we love you.
Yep.
But 3 years ago, you should have been done. No
he
offense.
Was, but then he came back.
He came back, and he's like, I'll just catch 25 balls a year and just, and it's just a waste of money. And some of these, I get these are quarterbacks, but some of these I'm like, I would rather them see go after their playoff run. Let's say Rivers gets eliminated this year in the playoffs. That's a great season. You made the playoffs. You won a playoff game, which you barely did in San Diego. Let it go. Breeze, same thing. Like, this is the time. And I know Brady and Breeze are the 2 quarterbacks on this list. You have the 4 that want to retire with a championship. Yes, I don't see Big Ben or the Rivers doing it.
Yeah, and I just don't chase it.
I know.
It's sad. Like, and I didn't want to see Brady out of a New England uniform.
I did not either.
Really, because I love players that stay on the same team forever.
I do too.
Now, Breeze everybody may forget, Breeze was in San Diego for a long time. Rivers took over for Breeze.
It's hard to remember that.
Right, and Big Ben is the only one on this list that has been in Pittsburgh his whole career. Okay, now, the thing about Big Ben is if he doesn't retire, I can honestly see the Steelers cutting him. Okay, he's not owed any money, but if he is on the roster next year, he is guaranteed $41.3 million.
So real quick, because of this we're talking about, if Big Ben is a free agent, who signs him? Honestly, if you think about it, we don't have to...
If you're looking at how he's played right now, I don't know if he...
That's what I'm saying.
And that's the thing, like, because you can't look at him and be like, especially if they lose out, which is a really good possibility.
You have the remaining schedule, Colts and Browns.
Colts and Browns. Okay, they could lose out and lose the division.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're guaranteed a playoff spot. We looked that up before the show. They're guaranteed a playoff spot. But say you lose your last 6 games of the year, okay, and you look the way he's looked, I don't know who signs him.
The only thing I can think of in my head, which may be a little bit of a reach, possibly if it stays the same, maybe Indy?
But would you rather re-sign? Would you rather go after Big Ben, or would you rather just sign Rivers?
But what if Rivers just comes out and says, "No matter what, I just want to spend time with my 12 kids"? You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to pay for your 12 kids.
That's the thing, though, and that's my thing. Is like, other than that, nobody's going to want. Like, no offense to Washington, no offense to these other teams, they're not going to want an aging quarterback.
If I'm a young team like that, like Washington, I either draft a quarterback or I stick with Alex Smith.
That's what I'm saying. You don't go after Big Ben. Big Ben's only going to go to a team that's a playoff edge bubble team, maybe Chicago type team. That's what I'm saying. So for me, there's only 2 or 3 teams that would even interest Big Ben, and they're probably going to draft somebody anyways.
Right.
No offense to Big Ben. I mean,
and
it's just crazy to think.
I just can't see paying a quarterback that just lost you 6 straight games $41.3 million.
That's ridiculous.
Now, if you want to restructure so you don't pay him that money, I could see that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's just... I don't like seeing players... It's sort of like, for me, Kobe.
Yep.
Okay. People remember, especially people probably your age and everything, you might not remember dominant Kobe.
I started watching basketball big. Like, last 2 years I've been a little bit bad about it as a fan, but big when I was about 12 years old. So that would have been 2006, 2007.
So you don't even remember the
dominant they were
Lakers.
Winning 3 championships at that time.
No, they won 3 championships in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I thought it was 99, like 2005, 6,
2001.
And 7.
And then,
I'm off.
And then in 2009 and 10 or 10 and 11, they won back-to-back.
That's the years I'm talking about. But even then, he wasn't the Kobe that...
Well, then he was, but then he got hurt.
Yeah.
And everybody remembers what happened after his injury. Yep. 2 big injuries in a row. Wasn't the same and everything. Kevin Garnett hung on way too long.
Way too long. He was one.
And it's one of those things where it's sad to see, because that's the last thing you remember.
Yep.
Like, you don't remember until you watch highlight films the dominance
of these
players.
And I think that's one of the issues we have as fans, especially me at the age I am, where we have an issue with the Michael LeBron thing, arguing between the greatest of all time, because I didn't get to see a lot of the dominant Kobe. All I saw was the last 5 or 6 years of Father Time. Rest in peace, Kobe. No offense, but the last 5 or 6 years, he was a shell of himself. He was not the same, and it's like, he is one of the greatest players of all time. If he's right in that conversation, but he doesn't get included because it's what have you done for me lately? And some of these quarterbacks, like Eli Manning, and some of these quarterbacks, like their last few years, they didn't put a good taste in your mouth. And unfortunately, that's kind of the Kobe issue.
To add a quarterback to this list, Stafford.
Stafford's another one. Okay, I don't think Stafford's a Hall of Famer, though. Because I don't think Rivers is, but if Rivers gets in, Stafford has to get in.
Yeah, I think numbers-wise, I think Stafford will be in.
Yeah.
But
again, I don't like putting quarterbacks in without awards. Yeah, personally.
But then why is Marino in?
I guess you're right.
Okay, so
Marino did have an undefeated season, though, didn't he?
No, that was 1972.
Who was that?
That was like...
Wasn't that the Dolphins? Didn't the Dolphins go undefeated?
Marino did.
Oh, he wasn't.
Marino's rookie year was 84.
Oh, shit. Pardon my language. I for some reason, people say the undefeated Dolphins. I always assume it was him that did that.
So, a couple quick questions I have for you. These are for divisions.
Okay.
AFC South. Titans and Colts. Titans got the Packers and Texans. Colts have the Steelers and Jaguars. Now, before the last 3 games, you probably said the Colts-Steelers game was going to be a very good game battle. Titans-Packers is going to be a shootout. That's going to be a tough game for both teams. And both teams have to win because the Saints are still right there for the Packers for the number 1 seed. And if you're the Packers, you want the number 1 seed, and you want to play in Lambeau for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Because
It's going to be cold. Nobody wants to go
Nobody
there.
wants to go to Lambeau.
Nope.
If you're New Orleans, you want to be at home because you want to play in the Dome, and that's better for Breeze. The Texans and the Jaguars, I'd probably say the Texans is the tougher matchup, and the Texans always play teams tough. They don't win, but they're playing teams tough. The Jaguars, they have no reason that they want to win because now they have Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So I look at that division as coming down to this week.
Yep.
Next week, I don't think matters. It's this week who wins that division.
You want me to tell you, I actually don't think it's this week either. I think it's the last week of the season that matters, and I'll tell you why. Packers are good, and Titans are good. I think the Packers are going to find a way to win that game. And you want me to tell you something about the Colts-Steelers? Steelers aren't looking good, but this seems like a damn trap game to me that the Steelers are going to somehow say, we've heard enough, and Big Ben's going to have a 300-yard passing game and just beat the Colts. But doesn't it 3 in a row? Losing 4 in a row, though, really? That doesn't always happen to a team that has this much defensive talent. Okay, I'm just saying...
But 2 of their biggest defensive players are out with season-ending injuries.
I know.
They do not have an offense that can go up against the Colts.
No.
Like, the Colts are going to... The Colts just need to score 20-plus points to win this game, in my opinion.
To me, I think the Colts have the easier remaining schedule. I think the Steelers are worse than the Packers at the moment, and I think Jaguars are obviously worse than the Texans, even though they both have top 10 picks. If the Colts don't... The Colts will handle the Jaguars because the Jaguars will handle themselves.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But the Colts have to beat the Steelers because there's a chance the Titans beat the Packers. So, you know what I mean? I think the Colts win this division. I think the Titans will be in the wild card. Okay. And there's no reason either one of those teams don't make the playoffs. I mean, really, they're both there. But the Colts,
I think they're both guaranteed in the playoffs.
I think they are too. Both these teams are good. I mean, I talked up the Titans a lot in the preseason. I know we both did. Maybe a little bit more than me. A little bit more me than you. But I think Tannehill and that team. Tannehill is such a story. Let me tell you something, man. I love hearing about he got into the right system and he's winning. It's incredible to hear when you put a quarterback.
He was given a chance, and if you want to think about it, his time in Miami was with Adam Gase for the most part. And Adam Gase has proven he destroys franchises.
Why does he keep getting jobs?
Because he coached Peyton Manning on a year that Peyton Manning broke records.
I guess that makes sense.
Okay, so that's... Lose me on that. Okay,
I mean, Peyton Manning. It's Peyton Manning.
And so it's interesting to see. Like, I think the Colts come out of the division.
I do too.
I think the Colts went out. Now, I mean, I could easily see the Titans beating the Packers.
Absolutely.
But
the Packers stopped Derrick Henry. That's the thing.
Yeah, and the Packers' run defense is suspect. But it's going to come down to, I mean, I could see them both winning out, and then the Titans win because of the tiebreaker. And it's going to be interesting, that coming down to the wire. And then the Ravens versus the Dolphins coming down to the wire. Both have to win out. Okay, if both win out, Miami makes it. If Miami stumbles at all, because the Ravens have the Giants this week and the Bengals this last week of the season. The Dolphins have the Bills the last week of the season and the Raiders this week. So the Dolphins don't have an easy schedule, but they don't. Is Buffalo going to have anything to play for the last week of the season?
Yeah.
Are they going to sit their players? Because they're not getting the number 1 seed. They will have the number 2 seed. And realistically, if you're Buffalo, do you want to face Miami, a division opponent, or do you want to face the Ravens? Both teams you've beaten. Okay? And that is what the AFC is coming down to. I think the Browns could win the division. Steelers become a wild card. I think the Steelers are irrelevant at this point. I really do. And it's sad to say because they did start 11-0. I honestly see the Steelers losing the rest of their games the rest of the season, and that includes the playoff game.
It's almost like I was talking we were talking about the group. We talk about it all the time. And I said it a few weeks ago, and I love all y'all. And I got a little roasted. I get roasted a lot because I say some dumb things. I'm not going to lie. But I got heavily roasted when I said the Steelers might be a tad overrated.
Yeah.
I said they played an easy schedule, and I've said this, I said that. I never said fully overrated or garbage. They came at me with garbage, but I said I think they're overrated. They played a super easy schedule, and their average win margin is 7.2 points. Their average loss margin now has been almost 10 points. So to me, they're beating the Bengals by a touchdown. They're beating the Jets by a touchdown. You should be blowing these teams out, no offense. So my point was, now look at them. They are losing 3 straight. And I was like, it came to the point when I told everybody, I don't trust the Steelers this year. 11-0 is great. That's hard to do. How many times has that happened in history? Maybe less than a handful, but it's still to the point. You're playing terrible. The Jets have been better than you the last 3 weeks. So the Steelers should be worried. Heavily worried.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to win another game either.
And so...
Do you have the remaining schedule? Colts, Browns. They're not winning those 2 games, in my opinion.
No. And I mean, if they don't and the Browns win out, Browns win the division.
That's crazy.
And that is weird to say. It is, but I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to, just like our buddy Nate said, I think you might have said it. One of us said it. One of y'all two said it. I don't want to play the Browns in the playoffs.
No, I don't want to play them.
No.
And especially if they have home field for the first game, I don't want to play them. It is...
Not at all.
The only other really interesting playoff division battles is the NFC West. They're playing each other. Okay, so the Rams' remaining schedule... Seahawks and Cardinals. They're 9-5. They're in the wild card. Cardinals' remaining schedule: 49ers and Rams. 8-6 in the wild card right now. Cardinals are the 7 seed. They're in danger of the Bears actually overtaking them. So if the Bears win out and the Cardinals lose a game, the Bears are in.
The Rams did not need to lose that Jets game.
No, and then the Seahawks have the Rams and the 49ers. They're 10-4 and the division leaders. Okay, this is going to be very interesting because they play each other.
All the games left are all each other.
And the funny thing is if the 49ers didn't get hurt, I would say this division would be ridiculous, and they're all playing each other.
I know.
So the 49ers, realistically, I don't think have a shot at winning either game.
No,
but
I don't
I
either.
could see the 49ers being... the spoilers and saying,
of course.
Yeah, okay, Cards, you want to make the playoffs? You think you're there? No, we'll be,
This reminds me of NFC North / NFC East type end of the year. It always comes down to, like, if Green Bay's got a good lead and they're doing great, Detroit comes in and stomps them at the end of the year. Same thing with us with like Dallas is winning out throughout the year, or DC is winning out throughout the year. But you play the Giants, they're gonna beat you in the last week. It seems so. This is the best time of the year because I like that the last 2 weeks this division is playing each other. Usually it's just the last week a lot of the time, but last 2 or 3 weeks, I want the divisions getting in there with each other and making it tough for each other.
And then Rams, Seahawks, whoever wins this game is going to be very... If Seahawks win, they got the division. They win the division. Theirs. And then the Rams go to 9-6. If the Cards beat the 49ers,
they're both 9-6.
And realistically, it's a must-win because I think the Bears have the tiebreaker against both. Oh, wait, did the Rams beat... The Rams, I think, beat the Bears.
I think so.
But the Bears are an interesting team.
So did the Rams? Do Rams and Cards play each other? Yeah, they do. Last week of the season. So they're both 9-6.
It is for the division.
That's crazy.
And it is...
It'll be for the wild card if they're both 9-6.
Yes, for the wild card.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
For the wild
Seahawks
card,
will win if they beat the Rams.
I'm going to look up Chicago real quick here because I'm interested to see who their remaining schedule is.
Sure, no problem.
And... The only other thing, I want to talk about real quick. Why can't I learn how to read, Mark? Oh, there we go. So they got Jacksonville this week, the Bears. And the last week of the season, they have the Packers. If the Saints don't win this week and the Packers win this week, Packers have the number 1 seed and they can rest everybody. So that game, but Mitchell Trubisky, 5-2 as a starter this year. Okay, he was benched and he was 3-1. Nick Foles comes in, who everybody says was better, 2-5. Ruined that team the whole year. Okay, and the Bears are fighting for a playoff spot. Now, granted, David Montgomery has come out of nowhere to be the running back that Chicago thought he was going to be the last 5 weeks.
Fantasy owners last year punching the air right now.
He is just been very, very, very good.
He's been what they wanted last year.
Yes, but Trubisky's not making mistakes. Allen Robinson is playing like Allen Robinson should be
like
playing.
he should come back now.
And I look at the Bears as a very dangerous team because that defense is very good. And all they need is an offense that is decent. And this Bears offense is decent.
They just can't lose you the game, and the defense take care of itself.
And I'm not saying Trubisky is the answer, but neither's Nick Foles, okay? Yeah. And Trubisky's proving that you can win with him.
Yeah.
Okay? And it boggles my mind that Matt Nagy looked at a 3-1 team with Mitchell Trubisky and said, you know what? You're going down, and I'm going to start Nick Foles for 7 games, and our season is ruined. He was 2-5. Nick Foles is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has proven that over and over and over and over again. He is a great backup to lead you to play a few games. But anytime you ask him to play more than a few games, he is exposed.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I think the Bears did their franchise a disservice this season. And I really think it's now an argument of, do we stick with Mitchell Trubisky, or do we draft a quarterback?
Or a potential, like let's just say Big Ben didn't come back type.
That's not going to a free agent quarterback.
I don't know. I think it's tough, but I think of where they're drafting. I mean, where did I have them in the top? They were like 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. I guess it depends if Trask is sitting there or Wilson maybe, but
they already declined the 5th-year option.
That's what I'm saying.
They already declined it, so he's a free agent at the end of this year. Trubisky is.
So you have to pay him.
So you have to, and I don't understand it. I don't understand.
I don't think Trubisky's a bad I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but I think he can definitely help you.
For the offense you're setting up, okay, and the offense that you've played the last 5 weeks of the season, okay, it has been David Montgomery, and it has been pass the ball 20 times a game and run the ball with Cordell Patterson.
Cordell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's just Cordell.
David Montgomery, 30, 35 times a game and throw the ball 20.
They've got a great run O-line.
And then just stop them. We're going to score 20 points.
Yep.
Defense, don't allow 20 points. And is it a recipe for success? No. Can you win that way? Yes. Can you win championships that way? Probably not, because in the playoffs you need to be able to score points when you need to.
Yep.
And I don't see the Bears being able to do that. But at the same time, it is this Bears team, I thought, I mean, it just boggled my mind that Trubisky is gotten all this crap. And yeah, he's not a fantasy quarterback. I get that.
It doesn't mean anything.
He won.
Yeah.
You know, and a couple times, what was it? Did they have Cody Parkey last year or the year before?
I think that was the year before.
The double doink?
Yeah. No, that was last year. That was last year right before the playoffs, right? Or that was in the playoffs, wasn't it?
It was either in the playoffs or to get to the playoffs. And so Trubisky has proven you can get to the playoffs with him.
So what are they missing? Is it the extra from the quarterback?
It's an extra weapon on offense.
Who's their second wide receiver? That's the problem right there.
Miller and Mooney.
That's your problem.
Mooney's okay.
No offense.
He's a good slot player. Miller hasn't panned out to what they wanted him to be.
No offense. If you pick any team right now, most of them, ask me their top 2 wide receivers, I can name them. But we couldn't do it with the Bears. And no offense to that backup Miller. The wide receiver Miller. The fact is that you can't name their second wide receiver. Tells me they need like just a serviceable number 2 that you can trust a little bit more. And that's a problem. They need more
This kid
weapons.
from Florida, Pitts, is he a tight end?
Yes.
I could see that being a great fit. Because Trubisky loves tight ends. And, go ahead and laugh, you 5-year-old. He loves throwing to the tight ends. And Kmet isn't a great catching tight end.
Kyle Pitts is a monster.
Yeah, and somebody like that in Chicago would eat.
Oh, absolutely.
He would be.
And Chicago loves good tight ends. I mean, that's their thing with the football team.
And so, it's something along those lines where, okay, you know what? Sign him to a 2-year, $20, $30 million contract.
Yeah,
he'll take it.
Yeah,
he'll take the starter, and you just roll with it for 2 years. See what you got.
I mean, your defense is still good. They're not getting any really older.
No.
I mean, they are. I mean, Von Miller's there, but he's still
not
Von Miller. Shoot, who am I thinking of? Thank you.
Yeah, and
both great players, guys.
It's just Chicago to me is is it the coach that ruined it? Is it, and it's not ruined. They're fighting for the playoffs. So they're playing. It's just that was a horrible decision to bench Trubisky.
I think a lot of these teams, especially when it comes to the Bears like this, is a lot of these teams we're looking at it is coaching. It comes down to like just weird last minute decisions. Like if you look at all the coaches in the league, you have about 10 coaches you can trust to get you to the chip. But then you have a lot of coaches you're like, eh. And to me, if exactly how the Bears are, change their coach up to a decent coach, and I think they can win more games. I'm not saying Nagy's not a bad coach, but some coaches are not playoff coaches. You can just tell by looking at them, and I don't think he's one of them. That's just me.
All right, and my last question since you brought up, we're talking about coaching too. Yeah. Do the Vikings move on from Zimmer?
I don't know.
If they move on from Zimmer, he's one of the top coaches that will be hired the next season.
Listen to this. Zimmer, I think, is a fantastic coach. Who was his offensive coordinator last year?
Frank Reich, I believe.
Stefanski.
Was it Stefanski?
Who's now in the Browns, leading them to the number one division title.
Okay.
So
not Frank Reich.
No, Frank Reich was Colts, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's the head coach of the Colts.
He's the head coach of the Colts.
So
he came from Georgia, I think?
Yeah.
College. So that makes sense why the running back they have. So this is my thing. It's like Zimmer's a great coach. Look at Stefanski under Zimmer. Look what he's doing with the Browns, a team that everybody said, bro, don't take that deal. He said, why? Look at all this talent, but all these coaches are incompetent. Zimmer would be a hell of a free agent coach. I don't know where he'd go. So think about this. I just want to name a couple teams for you. I want to bring up Eric Bieniemy too. He's there. Okay, so think about this. I'm going to name 3 teams for you, and you tell me how important these would be for you to coach, because they're going to need a coach. The Jets.
Yep.
How important is it? If you're Zimmer or Bieniemy, do you take that job?
No.
No matter what they do in the draft, no?
No.
Jaguars.
Yes, I take that job.
Chargers.
I'll take that job.
So my point is this. If you look at it, Eric Bieniemy's been waiting for what? Used to play for the Chargers. I know it's same division. Go to the Chargers, Bieniemy. Look at that offense you have. Let's say you go to the Jaguars. You're about to have Lawrence. So my same thing with Zimmer. Zimmer for either one of those teams, I get they're bad teams. And I get if you go to whoever goes to the Chargers will have to play the Chiefs twice a year.
Yep.
Even Bieniemy used to play there, bro. You were their running back for a little bit. So my thing is with Zimmer, there's going to be some teams open, and the future is bright for those 2 teams I named. I think Bengals are keeping Zach Taylor, right?
I don't know if I want them to, but I think after that win yesterday or Monday, I think they keep him.
I think with Burrow getting hurt, you have no choice but to keep him another year to see what he can do with Burrow.
Yeah, okay.
I think so, unfortunately. But let's say Zach Taylor wasn't there. Eric Bieniemy with...
I'd rather have Zimmer.
I think
he coached the defense there for many years.
For your play style, your team, Zimmer makes more sense.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, those are 2... If Zimmer doesn't stay, I can't imagine what he would do wherever he goes.
Right.
It blows my mind. Philadelphia, they might not keep their coach. He's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think with the way they're playing at the end of the season, and realistically, they're not out of the division yet. No. And if Washington doesn't get their quarterback situation straight, I mean...
There's a chance...
I don't know why they haven't called Colin Kaepernick yet, but it's,
Have they called you?
No, not yet.
So
I've been warming up, but I haven't gotten the call.
Remember, and I said this in the group, just joking around with the guys, like, we love the guys to death, but, like, if DC doesn't get Alex Smith back... They could lose their next 2 games. All Dallas has to do is win their next 2 games, which is Eagles and Giants. This is mind-blowing to the fact that
Dwayne Haskins has proven he doesn't want to play in the NFL.
No, he's got more important things to focus on.
Yes, and Nate said it the best. He said he wants the lifestyle. He doesn't want to play.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's gotten money, and he'll blow it soon. Like, I don't see him getting a starting position.
No.
And maybe even a backup position in the next couple years.
Yep.
So, I see him needing to save his rookie contract money because it's not very good.
No.
And I just see him as, like, what are you thinking? The team is relying on you. And you decide to be a douche?
I mean, rookie quarterback money. You're just going to roll with that for the rest of your career and just be Jamarcus Russell?
I don't understand it boggles my mind because he has just proven he does not care about football. He doesn't care about the team.
Think about this. He was drafted in the first round, right? Picked
Number
7. 7. Okay. So you were drafted in the first round. You played most of last season, right? I believe he played almost every game, like 13 games or something.
No, he played
7
the
games.
last 7.
7, because I made fun of his 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's it. So he played 7 games. This year you got the start. For a NFL team, You got the start. I don't care how bad they looked in the preseason or how bad they looked last year. You got the start. And then you got benched. And then you got the...
He was going to be the franchise quarterback.
All you had to do was just go to practice. So you got the start. Okay? Then you got benched for Alex Smith. Great. But then what ended up happening after that is you got the chance to play again. And you failed again. How many chances do you get in the NFL Football League? I mean, I get it. Josh Gordon's got 100. But my point is...
He's done now because they put him back on the exempt list.
That's what I'm saying.
A day after he was taken off
the exempt list.
That's a sad story.
It's such a sad story, but my point is like, Haskins, I don't care if you're the Jets. You got an NFL chance 3 different times now, and you failed it yourself. And this team, I'm going to give credit. I know the guys give me hell for this. I'm going to give credit to the Washington football team. You got to clean up that culture. Nate said it best, or Logan said it, one of the two. You got to cut him. You are cleaning house at that team. You can't.
I get that, but if Alex Smith, you don't have. I mean, they just signed a kid off the street, but you don't have another answer. If Alex Smith can't play, you don't have another answer.
But I'm just saying after the season. I'm talking after the season.
Oh, after
you can't keep him.
I mean, my thing is this: if Alex Smith plays this week and you sign that kid off the street, you cut Haskins.
Yeah, you absolutely cut Haskins.
You cut Haskins.
You have to.
And you just get rid of him. You just eat it.
Eat
whatever you have to do, you just get rid of him.
Because this team, and again, people know I'm not a DC football fan at all, but this team has a direction with class they're going into with Rivera. I've heard some names the guys have listed for general managers that look like great people. This team in general is moving in a direction that they don't need people like Haskins anymore. Right. They don't need They need people like that gone because this team is getting classy for once. Yeah. And Haskins, what he just did, all year the guys were like, man, DC's cleaning up, getting rid of the rapey culture that they have. And then Haskins goes out and does this, and I'm like, you got to get rid of that guy.
Yep.
You got to move into a better culture of respect.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, think about it. DC's been around forever. They've always been a franchise like that. Respect. And it's got to change. And it changes by getting rid of this cancer on your team.
Yes. And I agree. I was never, in the preseason, I thought that Haskins could do the job. Because you saw the work he put in the offseason to better his body, to better his conditioning. He did all the fake stuff, like to make you think, and then it's his mentality. He's selfish. Yep. He doesn't care, he doesn't want to learn to be better.
No.
He doesn't want to watch film. He doesn't, and the name that keeps popping up for this kid, and he wasn't a number 1 pick, Haskins wasn't, but the person that everybody is Jamarcus Russell.
Yep.
All the talent in the world.
But lazy.
And Jamarcus Russell had talent on talent. And
his story is still one of the funniest sports stories I've ever heard.
The man just didn't want to watch film.
Nope.
The man didn't want to get better. The man didn't want to do anything.
Nope.
And in the NFL, you don't have quarter size space to throw to a wide receiver. You've got dime space to throw to a wide receiver. The talent level in the NFL is the best of the best. And in college, I'm sorry, it's just like the reason why I don't trust in Fields is because, you played for Ohio State, but what kind of talent did you play against?
I don't even played a ranked team all year pretty much till that bowl,
this
till
year,
this championship.
And last year, when you played a big team, you played pretty well against Clemson, but you didn't win.
Yeah.
Okay? You played ass against Northwestern. Okay? And the only reason why you won that game is, one, Northwestern isn't their
quarterback
yet, but
two
also
picks.
You had a running back that ran for over 300 yards.
He balled out.
He could have had 500 if you just took the ball out of Fields' hands and just hiked the ball to the damn kid.
And I know that our friends can appreciate this, as I'm not a Northwestern fan, but as a college football fan, Northwestern's defense is not bad.
No.
They shut him down every through pass, but they didn't focus on the run, and that was their downfall. Overall, Northwestern has 2 5-stars in their whole team. Ohio State has 30. So you have to go into that. You need to play. Northwestern has to play the first half, the whole second half, and they didn't, and that's okay.
Right.
But you proved to us that we don't think Fields is a good quarterback. And who was the quarterback before Fields?
Was it Haskins?
Exactly. Okay. So my thing is not that Fields is not going to be a good quarterback. There's this little bit of like USC used to have. USC as a quarterback there, goes pro, does bad. People like Mark Sanchez. Again, it's that thing where people aren't going to trust Fields because Haskins just came from there, from the same system, and look what he's doing. So people are like, is Fields going to do the same thing?
Right.
Do they develop quarterbacks good?
And the thing is like, the kid in Florida, Trask.
Yep.
BYU, Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
They play pro style. Like, does it make sense that they play pro style offenses?
I would say
they make you see.
Lawrence and Trask are pro style. I believe you would want to technically consider Wilson a scrambling quarterback, but he can throw the ball very well.
Yeah.
But again, he reminds me more of Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is not bad at
play
all.
Style,
know, but I look at it as the kids that are successful right now, right out of the gate. Okay? Pro style offense.
Yep.
And they make you read the field.
Yep.
They make you see everything. And the reason why they're successful, and I will say this, is because college defenses don't play pro defenses.
No, they don't.
Like, I don't know if that made any sense at all.
College defenses play prevent in a way where they let you have a 10-yard pass, but they just stop you from going deep in a way. They want to play close, and that's not exactly how NFL works.
And the thing is colleges will deal with, like, and I see it in Alabama, and I saw it in the Florida game. Alabama wanted to shut down one side of the field.
Yep.
Like, they could because they had the talent at cornerback there, but the talent on the other side of the field wasn't as good. And then all of a sudden you see, like, Trask is just throwing. Now, to beat Alabama, you have to be perfect.
You have to be perfect.
Florida made a couple mistakes in that game. And
shout out Florida, though, man. They're a good team.
It wasn't like huge mistakes. Like, it was a turnover here, but Alabama doesn't make mistakes, and Alabama always capitalizes on those mistakes.
Always.
And Florida was in that game even making a couple mistakes. Florida wins that game if they don't make those mistakes.
Florida, and I mean this to our Florida fans, which is like 2 or 3 of them in our group, Florida wins that game too if their defense was a little bit better in ways too. That offense is spectacular. They kept up with, to be fair, I love Clemson. But on paper right now, Alabama's the best team in college football.
Yes,
on paper, top to bottom.
But I look at the one thing I see all the time, and the one thing I want to say is Lawrence is that difference maker.
Okay. The point I was making was that Florida hung up with that team, though. That's what I'm trying to say. And in my heart, even though Florida lost, they feel like one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country right now.
Yeah, and I look at A&M. I look at A&M being really, and you can make the argument. Okay, Notre Dame beat Clemson. They won the rest of their games, and then they lost to Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay. A&M lost to Alabama early in the season, I believe.
By 21 points they lost by. It was 3 scores, I think. The guys
but
will
then
let me know.
won 7 straight games in the SEC,
yep. Which is a tough division.
The toughest division
in football.
Yep. Okay. And you look at it, and Ohio State beat one ranked team.
Yep.
Okay. And they didn't look good doing it.
And they only played
6 games. Okay, like, to me, you cannot put Ohio State in the college football playoffs just because they're Ohio State. And that's the only reason why they did it.
That's 100% the reason they're in there.
And Trevor Lawrence proved, they're like, oh, well, in that game against Notre Dame when he didn't play, the defense didn't show up. The freshman quarterback did his job. Okay, I get that. Freshman quarterback played well. Okay, but he's not Trevor Lawrence.
He's not Trevor Lawrence.
And Trevor Lawrence took the will from Notre Dame, and he took it early. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. The freshman quarterback can't see the field. Okay, doesn't know where he's going based off the defense before the snap. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence does.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence proved, and the defense plays different.
Okay?
And they were disrespected by Notre Dame, and that defense showed up, and that's why Dabo and Saban are different than every other college coach in the country.
There's something that is interesting to me. You said it a few minutes ago. You had mentioned how much faster the NFL is than college, and it brought me to a point. I have a homer here for a second, but like, this is the difference between Lawrence and other quarterbacks, okay? I want to go off of a quarterback from my school a few years back in Will Grier. He got a chance to play, got sacked like 6 times, okay? The Panthers' O-line was bad. The first words out of his mouth were, wow, that's a lot faster than college.
Yes.
And I was not prepared for how much smaller the gaps are between wide receivers. Through a couple picks, he said, I got to get better. Hasn't played since. Lawrence, to me, is going to be that kind of guy. Unlike Fields and unlike these other guys, I think he's going to understand how fast college is. Mm-hmm. He's just different. Like you said, he reads the field better, and I fully trust that he can handle no matter who's against him. He's like, a couple 5-star safeties, that don't mean nothing.
That's what separated Burrow
from the rest.
Because last year, LSU played that NFL offense
Yep,
for the
pro
first
style
time
offense.
instead of handing the ball off 50 times a game like every LSU team ever did.
For like 15 years.
And Burrow was different. Now, I didn't watch enough of Herbert. Though what I did watch of Herbert, you could probably argue it was the team around him that wasn't as good as he went. If you watch,
I mean, that's Pac-12 football.
If you watch earlier tape of Herbert,
yeah,
he would have been the number one pick if he came out as a junior instead of staying.
Absolutely. He stayed for that reason.
Yes.
I don't know why he stayed.
And
but
so, and I look at it as, okay, you stayed. Hey, great. You got your education. I think that's great.
Yeah.
You went, what did he get drafted?
I think he was fifth. He might have been fifth or seventh, somewhere in there.
You still got drafted top 10. You're still making money. You're still going to
And you're the future of this team now.
Yep. And so I get, it didn't really hurt him, staying. But I look at it as, this kid from Alabama. Mm-hmm. Is his not his name Jones or something?
I think it's Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
That might be wrong.
He's really good.
Yeah, he is.
But he only throws it to one guy. Okay,
who's now going to be at the hall? He's going to be at the Heisman ceremony for that reason.
And so I look at it as I look at it and Trask. They're saying he might stay. Mm-hmm. Get the hell out, man! You're losing your best player.
You're losing
it. You're losing too much in Florida for him to say stay and up your draft stock.
See, the thing is the reason why, and I'll go this real quick as we're that's why Herbert fell to 7 the second year instead of being number 1 overall. He was going out in the same draft as Will Grier the year before, right? Mm-hmm. He stayed because he wanted to finish his education. He still would have been number 1 overall, probably to the Bengals, if Burrow didn't if Burrow didn't pop out of nowhere. Burrow was not on any draft boards when he first took over LSU. He was an undrafted talent, and look how good he did. So I get, not a bad way, but like Herbert, it still paid off. You and Burrow are gonna be futures in the NFL, but Mac Jones, I think that's his name. I want to say that's his name. He's great, but this is my deep down thing about Justin Fields and Mac Jones and Alabama, Ohio State quarterbacks. Is it you? Or is it the fact that your team is number 1 and 2 in recruiting and everyone around you is caliber? Because if you think about it, name the last Alabama quarterback to do something Pro Bowl in the NFL.
Well,
or Ohio State.
Don't get me started on the Pro Bowl.
I know you're going to say that in a minute, but that's my point. Is I have nothing against Mac Jones, but around him is 4 5-star linemen, 2 4-star wide receivers, and a 5-star wide receiver, a 5-star running back. Your backup is a 5-star running back, and your backup to that's about to go to the freshman. He's in high school right now. It's another 5-star player. So you're playing with these players. So we expect you to do what Mac Jones is doing. Yeah, Clemson, we expect you, but with Lawrence, it's different.
But look at Watson.
Watson, same way.
Watson is played for Clemson, and he's balling out.
But that's why I think some
good.
schools just develop quarterbacks better.
Yes.
To me, I think Alabama and Ohio State are positional running back, wide receiver, defensive teams. But they just don't produce the best quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, that's 100% agree.
I want any Alabama wide receiver. I want any Ohio State running back. They just do, or Ohio State defensive lineman. Yeah. I want them all. Give them all to me.
Yeah.
And that's just my thing. It's nothing against this Mac Jones kid or whatever his name is. I just don't think we can evaluate him yet. Right. He's still very young, but I think he's going to be a monster in a year or two.
Yeah. And the Pro Bowl selection came out the other day.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that, but I think we can make this pretty short.
I'm going to make it short and sweet. I think the Pro Bowl is stupid and irrelevant.
Yep.
Okay? It is. I know players want to get voted in for bonuses, things like that. I get it. But you can make an argument that it is biased. It is irrelevant based on, you can make an argument for 7-8 different players to make it. It's, I got snubbed. Oh, my team got snubbed. It's blah, 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 blah. It's stupid and it's irrelevant.
Yep. And I want to go on your point there because I don't care for the Pro Bowl. I love to watch it. But to me, the Pro Bowl is who does the best TikTok dances, right? It's a popularity thing, okay?
Hey, Juju. How you feeling?
So I wanted to say this real quick. The only one I wanted to add to this that I truly think was snubbed, and I went through almost every position this morning. I took an hour to figure this out. DeForest Buckner.
Sorry to ruin the conversation for you then, but...
What?
The Pro Bowl conversation for you.
Why did it ruin it for me?
You spent an hour researching
it. No, it's okay. No, I just wanted to find out who I thought was the biggest snub. DeForest Buckner had 52 tackles, 19 solo, and 7.5 sacks, okay? Real quick, you only get 3 defensive tackles at a Pro Bowl per side. So he's what, AFC? Mm-hmm. His numbers are 2 times better in all 3 tackles for loss, or solo, and sacks than Calais Campbell. It's a little bit better than Chris Jones and 2.5 times better than Cam Hayward. And he didn't get in. So to me, it's all 3 of those teams are playoff teams. way better. I'm not saying the Colts aren't good, but it's because
He's
they're
a
in the
playoff
limelight.
team.
It blows my mind that DeForest Buckner is one of those two, and no offense to the rookie Justin Jefferson, but Calvin Ridley didn't get in. 1,200 yards, 10 TDs. Hopkins had the same numbers. Metcalf had the same numbers. Justin Jefferson had the same numbers. Devontae Adams. So I just think sometimes, especially with DeForest Buckner, it's like, why aren't some of these people getting in? Is because nobody knows who DeForest Buckner is. I just don't understand the Pro Bowl, in my opinion. That's why I wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah,
it's such a popularity contest that some of these, like the DeForest Buckner I just named, has better stats than almost every defensive end in the league. And he's a defensive tackle. And there's defensive ends getting in just because of their name. And it doesn't mean they deserve it. No. It's just some people, I just don't like the Pro Bowl, and I don't like the people can vote for the Pro Bowl. I think the Pro Bowl should be voted on by coaches, and I think it should be voted on by College Hall of Fame voters. People like that should vote for Pro Bowl, not the people.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started on college voting, because college voting is the most biased thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Again, I think Texas A&M and or Florida should be in the playoffs.
I think I would love to see an 8-team for the fact that Florida has what, 2 or 3 losses?
Two losses.
2 losses. It does make it a little tough to say they deserve it over an A&M, but I think they have 3. But overall, they are good. That's why I think 8 teams at sometimes that Florida could make a run in the playoffs. But are they better than the other 4 listed, other than Ohio State? Because if you're going to talk about the 4, I think Texas A&M might be a tad bit better in recent weeks than Florida. But again, this is my thing. It's so biased. That I don't think Ohio State's one of the 4 best teams. And no offense to Notre Dame, they aren't either.
No.
Ian Book does not look good.
And it's going to be Alabama-Clemson for the 50th time in a row. And it's going to be whoever plays better that day. And I hope it's Clemson, but, Alabama's really good. So
Alabama's got a better team this year than last year. So with that, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Yep. Stay safe out there. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you for listening. And we got a lot more content coming in the beginning of the year.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one.